Our startup does $1 million per year, and we run 100% of our marketing from Claude Code: content, ads, analytics, SEO, CRM, all of it. I am Juan, founder at Potter, and we help more than 1,600 marketing teams and agencies from more than 60 countries to run their marketing on Claude Code. In this tutorial, I will show you what Claude Code is, how to set it up, how to use it for marketing, how it is different from any other AI tool that you have ever used, and I will show you our exact workflows and use cases with the MCPs, skills, and templates that you can copy for your team and your work today. I will also break down the concepts that we need to understand to work with AI and Claude Code, things like tokens, APIs, MCPs, skills, models, pricing, and all these concepts that most people miss, but we need to understand to 10x our output. It is not that we need to code, but we start to think like marketing engineers. So what is Claude Code? Claude Code is an AI coding tool for building software or to vibe code. And now you wonder what makes it different from other tools like V0, Replit, Lovable. Well, first, it is built by Anthropic. And Anthropic has demonstrated to be one of the leading AI companies in the world, competing head to head with Google, with OpenAI. And one of the reasons of this leadership is because they built very good AI models like Opus or Sonnet. Once you start working with AI, you notice the difference in the quality of models. When we started with ChatGPT, there are many things that we were not able to do. Hallucinations were the norm. As models get smarter, you can notice the difference in the quality and in the speed of your work. So working with these proprietary models from Anthropic is a very good thing for the quality of the product that you are building. The second reason is that Claude Code was initially built for developers. In the beginning, Claude Code was an extension of tools that developers use like Visual Studio Code or Cursor. But for most people, like for marketers, those environments feel very technical. But now that Claude launched a desktop app, we can access Claude Code from a beautiful chat interface that is very easy to use. The third reason why Claude is very good, Claude Code for developing tools is very good, is the terminal. When you install Claude Code in your computer, it can access your terminal. The only thing that you need to understand about that is that accessing your terminal is access to everything in your computer: your files, your downloads, your browser, your operating system, your camera, everything you can give access to Claude Code. So the power that this releases for integrating, for finding information, for combining and creating different folders, for doing more, I think that you will notice it once you start building your software. If you have used Lovable, if you have used Replit before, you can do many things and you can build these prototypes. But to launch something in production, when you want to build a real tool that you can use at work, I think that's something that works in your terminal, in your computer. I think it becomes way more reliable. Now, if we combine using the terminal, top AI models, and a beautiful user experience with chat, we have a tool that we can use to run 100% of our marketing. Now you can say, hey, I can use Lovable and Replit, and I agree. I think Lovable and Replit are superior when it comes to design. They are easy, for instance, to publish your applications on the web. I think they are very good tools. But personally, I would prefer Claude Code to run my marketing systems, to run and integrate my APIs, to run and integrate WordPress, my advertising, my reporting. But also, it is not that Claude Code is the only tool out there. The most head-to-head comparison versus Claude Code or actual alternatives will be Antigravity by Google or Codex by OpenAI. Before installing Claude Code, of course, you have the question of how much you will pay for Claude Code. So currently, they have two plans, one of $100 per month and one for $200 per month. What is the difference? The usage and the volume of things I can do, the number of tokens and executions I can run through their AI models, and also depending on the models that we are using. Initially, I started with the $100 plan and it was very good, but I found myself that every time I was using it after 3 or 4 hours, I was hitting the limits. And when I hit the limits, now they will start charging me usage based through the API costs. I will explain all of this later in the video, but what you need to know is that when you hit the limits, it becomes very expensive. So when I hit the limit, for instance, at 4 p.m. and I want to work from 4 to 5, and I am only working with the usage-based pricing through the API, I can easily spend 20, 30, $40 just in that hour. So I better make sure that I never hit the limits within the Cloud Code plans by default. So the $200 plan, I think I use Cloud Code very intensively, and I hardly hit the limits of the $200. And I think $200 for everything that you can do is a bargain still. So I really encourage you to pay the $200 plan once you notice that you are hitting the limits very often with the $100 plan. However, later in the video and in other videos, we explain many strategies to save costs with Cloud Code. There are many strategies: token compression, the caveman mode, so it has less tokens of usage, using different models or delegating some tasks to different models, or even open source models that are not related to Anthropic. There are many ways to save costs, but my general recommendation, the $100 plan, the $200 plan, they are both worth it, and you can start with the $100 plan. Now, I will show you how to install Cloud Code. To install Cloud Code, you simply type on Google or ChatGPT, install Cloud Desktop. It will give you a link and you can install it in your Mac. If you are using Windows, I guess they also have access to Windows. In my case, I use Mac. I will download on my Mac and I will use that file and I will download it and I will put it in my folder. Once I have in the folder, you will notice that they will give you a message that says like, as this is not open from the App Store, it is not safe, it is not secure. No worries, it happens with most of the apps if you don't install them directly from the App Store of Apple. So what I need to do is I need to go to the Apple of App Settings, Privacy and Security, and accept the usage of Cloud. And once there, I will have installed Cloud in desktop. Something very good that you will notice is that with Cloud Desktop, I have access to these three products. I have the chat of Cloud, like the Cloud AI, the alternative of ChatGPT. I have Cloud Cowork that I will explain in other videos, and Cloud Code. The tab that we will use is Cloud Code. Once you're in Cloud Code, it is time to start chatting with our marketing data. Once we have installed Cloud Code, once we are in our first chat, the first thing I will show you is how we can prompt something and how we can install tools. The first exercise and the first use case will be, for instance, connecting our marketing data for performance monitoring. Let's say I want to build a marketing dashboard with my GA4, paid media, social media data. How to install and how to connect my data. I will explain you two concepts: skills and MCPs. First, MCP. MCP is the way I can connect to integrate to other tools. So if you say, hey, Juan, I want to connect to HubSpot, I want to manage my contacts, well, you should use the HubSpot MCP. I want to connect my marketing data and blend it with GA4, advertising, CRM, Shopify, then we use the Porter Metrics MCP. Let's say that you want to connect to WordPress. Okay, I want to connect the WordPress MCP. If you are familiar with this, you will also ask yourself, hey, are not APIs for that? What is the difference between APIs and MCP? For this part of the video, we don't need this definition. I will explain it later in the video. The only thing that you need to understand now is if we want to integrate our tools, we need to install their MCPs. When I talk about running 100% of your marketing from Cloud Code, I really mean it. So besides the examples I will give you, I encourage you to go to your job description and think how else you can automate your work. In this tutorial, I will start by automating our marketing reports and data analysis. So I will show you how to create dashboards, how to create an executive client presentation, how to automate your alerts and notifications via Slack, WhatsApp, or Gmail. Also, I will show you how to brainstorm ideas with AI, which I love. But I will say that the most popular use case is related to social media and content creation. I will show you how to make videos, motion graphics, and edit and create images directly from Cloud Code, or how to do content generation in general. Also, I will show you end-to-end how to create a landing page, not just the script, not just the copy, not just the design. I will show you end-to-end how to research the content, how to write it, how to design the landing page, and how to publish it directly on your WordPress, on Webflow, or whatever CRM or CMS that you use. Also, I will show you how to fully manage your ads, how to analyze your data, how to analyze your keywords, how to analyze your creatives, how to upload and manage your actual campaigns and creatives, and find opportunities of optimization. And my favorite use case, because that's the one that we use the most at Potter, SEO. I will show you my full workflow from the research, from the content research and the content audit, how I scale the things I do on SEO at Potter. We publish thousands of pages and update them constantly. And I want to show you the process I do, and everything, as I said, everything is on Cloud Code. And also, I hate managing and using my CRM. I hate cleaning the contacts and managing the list and updating and uploading campaigns and emails. I can do it directly on Cloud Code. I really mean it. I never log into ActiveCampaign. I simply use Cloud Code for this. The final use case is how to do things at a scale. So I will show you one example, which is programmatic SEO, which will give you an idea of how you can run things not just with one chat, but with 200 chats and doing operations at the scale. Let's start with our first example, which is automating our marketing reporting and data analysis. And there are different ways we can do analysis with our marketing data. First is chatting with our data like an AI analyst. Also, we can create live dashboards and reports. And also, we can create notifications and alerts via Gmail, WhatsApp, or Slack. Another way that I love is client presentations or slide decks with a narrative, with charts, with visuals. So I will show you the four formats. The first one is a chat, is the most simple one. So the first thing is that I will simply ask questions to Claude Code. Remember, we need to install Porter Metrics, and once we install the Porter Metrics MCP, we need to connect these data sources. For instance, to connect GA4 or Google Analytics, I need to log in with my Google account. If I want to connect my Meta Ads account, I need to log in with my Facebook profile. If I want to log into Instagram, I need to log in with my Facebook profile. And if I want to connect Shopify, I need to connect my Shopify account. It is as simple as asking Claude to connect these things. It will open a window so you can connect and you can authenticate your data. And once you have connected these data sources, we only need to ask questions. So the first example I will do is, I want to know my daily traffic from GA4 during this month to date. And as you can see, Cloud Code will give me a table with my GA4 performance broken down by date. I could also ask, hey, I want to segment my data by page URL, by source, by medium, by country, by city. Or I can do something more interesting. What about if I blend my data? I also want to know my daily performance based on my GA4 sessions, my Google Search Console clicks, and also my Meta Ads ad spend. And as you can see, Power Metrics automatically blends and combines this data for a unified view of your performance on Cloud Code. Now, chatting with my data is very interesting because I can answer very specific questions. It is like an AI analyst. But if I want to present this data to other people, especially to non-marketers, or I want to share this with my team, maybe I would prefer another format like a marketing dashboard. A marketing dashboard, I can have a URL that I can share with other people. So only by asking, I would like to create a marketing dashboard with this performance data, and I would like a live HTML that I can have on my browser. And as you can see, with this instruction, as simple as that, Power Metrics will be able to create a marketing dashboard. Now, the quality of the output is very reliant on the quality on the input. Remember, with AI, the more specific, the better. So knowing your job, for instance, as a data analyst is useful because you know exactly what to ask. For that, if you are not familiar with marketing data analysis, we have skills and templates for that. A skill is simply a prompt or instruction that the AI must follow. So we already have skills, for instance, for social media reporting, or skills particular for PPC reporting. So if you are new to this, we have the template so you can avoid thinking through the process. And once you learn, you will start iterating more often. So for instance, in this case, hey, I want to know my performance data across GA4, Google Search Console, advertising, and I want to segment by data, by time, by date, and also by campaign and content. If I ask this, Cloud Code will be able to create a marketing dashboard. And now in the nuances, you will do some changes and some fixes. However, you understand the example. And with this, you understand the magic of Cloud Code. Only by asking and chatting with it, I can chat with my data, or I can enable a live marketing dashboard. But dashboards and chat are not the only formats to analyze my data. Another more proactive way to do it is with daily notifications. What about if we get an alert whenever our ad spend is higher than expected, or our goal target is below the threshold that we expect? Or what about if we want a daily or weekly recap of our performance without me needing to chat with Cloud or to request it? How to do this? We can connect the Power Metrics MCP with the MCP of Slack or the MCP or Gmail. We simply need to ask Cloud Code, hey, MCP, or connect MCP, and it will have the integrations for Slack and Gmail. In this case, I will do it with Slack, and I will show you the actual example that I have in my channels. I will connect the Slack MCP, and I am able to send a message. So once you connect the MCP with Slack, and you will see the process is very similar. I will do the command /mcp. I will go to Slack. I will connect my Slack account, and when I authorize my Slack account, it will have access to my channels. I need to clarify in what channels I want to send this data to. Also, every integration has its nuances. For instance, it will ask you, okay, if you want me to send data to this particular channel, I need that this bot belongs to this particular channel so I can push the messages. Now, once I connected Slack, I simply ask, hey, can you send a sample message of my GA4 data on Slack? And as you can see, I can send reports of my marketing data on Slack as well. But the magic of notifications is that they are proactive. So I can create something that is called a routine. A routine is a time-based automation or cron-based automation. I can say, for instance, I want to create a routine that runs every day at 8 a.m. Or I want a routine that runs every Friday at 5 p.m. for a weekly recap. Or even, I want a routine that every hour is checking my CPA. And if it notices that my CPA is over this target, then send a notification on Slack or WhatsApp or Gmail. Just by chatting, I can enable proactive notifications and alerts. And this is another way to consume your marketing data proactively with alerts and notifications, as I said, just by chatting with this. And a final use case that I love, because most users are non-marketers and they don't have an idea of the metrics that they are reading. So having a client presentation with stories, with narratives is very useful. So I can simply connect, hey, I want to show my Instagram performance data, and I want you to create a presentation with the brand logos and colors of my clients. So we can do this. First, we connect the Porter Metrics MCP to retrieve our Instagram or TikTok data. And once we have the report that we have created already, once you play with this performance data, I can say, hey, I want to create a presentation first in HTML. By the way, you could ask it to create a PDF, or you could ask other formats. You can actually ask to create a PowerPoint. In my case, I will do it with HTML. I want you to create a client presentation, but first, I want you to scrape the styling of my client. So if we use an MCP or a tool called Firecrawl that you can access, by the way, with your Power Metrics subscription directly, I can use Firecrawl to scrape all the styling, colors, logos, fonts from my client. And I can ask, okay, use the marketing data we have from Potter and create a client presentation with the colors of these clients using the Firecrawl MCP. I am using these two tools. So Firecrawl will visit the website of this client, it will understand the colors, and it will generate a full client presentation to show my Instagram performance data. This is as simple as chatting how you can automate your marketing data analysis, reports, presentations, and notifications with Cloud Code, with the Power Metrics MCP, with Firecrawl MCP. Now let's see other use cases. See another use case of AI and Cloud Code for marketing, which is brainstorming or building your second brain. Like your job, my job requires some creativity. For instance, for content ideas, like creating a course for Cloud Code for marketers, because that is pretty creative, right? And part of the things I need to do is thinking and just ramping ideas and organizing my ideas. But I don't like to be in an office or sitting down the whole day just doing it. I will prefer to speak. I will prefer to walk. So something I did is that with my mobile phone, I use a Google Pixel. I installed the Anthropic, the Claude application. And once I installed it, I started dictating. So I use a tool that is called WhisperFlow that lets me do dictation from my computer and also from my mobile phone. So I just went for a walk on a Sunday and I started to have ideas on this course. So I wanted to give definitions. So I told to Claude Code, I will dictate you some ideas. I don't want you to ask me anything. I will just dictate, and I want you to save all what I say, all my transcripts in GitHub. Now you will wonder why I use GitHub and why you need GitHub to use Claude Code from your mobile phone. Once you install Claude Code from your mobile phone, you use Claude, you can use it directly. But if you use Claude Code, you will notice that it will ask you to choose a GitHub environment. So what is GitHub? GitHub is like a Google Drive for developers. It is where developers store not their documents, but they store their repositories with code. So they use it to retrieve that code in the future or to share that code with their peers and with their team. You may wonder how multiple developers work and collaborate because one developer has this code and another developer has this another code, and they need to merge the code. And then when they have the code updated, they need to sync it again to their computers. For that, they use GitHub. And marketers can use it too because now you don't need to be any technical to use it. So GitHub is like your Google Drive where you can store all your files and all your code. And the good thing is that as it is in the cloud, when I was on my mobile phone and I wanted it to save all my data and save it on GitHub, when I was back on my computer, I could retrieve the same information and I could download it in my computer again. And I can do the same from the computer to mobile. I can work in my computer, and if I want to use the files again, I will update those files, save it in the cloud, and when I in mobile phone, I can retrieve these documents again. So it is a way to persist your data, to collaborate, to share, and also for versioning. It is very common that you break your code, that you would like to get another version or an older version of the code that you have built because in the latest release you made a bug and you don't want to fix it. So GitHub is great for that, for versioning, for saving your historical data, for collaboration, and in this case, for syncing with your mobile phone so you can work on the go with just dictation. So as I told you, as I did, I was walking with my mobile phone dictating, and I was so excited that I decided to run for a moment. I wanted just to dictate and run until I was tired. If you run, you notice and you know that when you can talk, you can keep your pace without feeling tired. So after I dictated, I was tired of dictating and I noticed that I had run 50 minutes. And then I decided to go for a 21K, which is, I mean, it's half a marathon. I was only able to do it just because I was just relaxed running and talking with Claude Code. And for me, just doing this of running and walking while tinkering, I think it is just a great idea for brainstorming. And if you organize your idea in folders and documents that you can save on GitHub, that will build your second brain. And a second brain is like your Google Drive with repositories where all your documents and files are organized so you can retrieve them in the future. For instance, in the second brain, you can have your design system, you can have your segmentation, you can have your strategy documents, and you can have your ideas from brainstorming. So this example that I am telling you, the setup requires downloading your mobile phone, using WhisperFlow for dictation, and using GitHub to store your data and sync it whenever you want to use it in the future. Let's see another use case. I will tell you another way to brainstorm, and it is just not coming up with your ideas with some kind of epiphany, but listening to your customers. There are many tools that help you record your calls, your customer conversations. So if you connect to your support email, if you connect to Slack, if you connect, for instance, to your Google Meet calls, for instance, there is a tool that we use called Granola. We use Granola to get transcripts of our calls. All these conversations become gold mines of inputs for content ideas. So something I do is that we connect Granola with the Granola MCP, and with the Granola MCP, I can ask it, for instance, what conversations have we had during this month? and it will tell me and it will list all the calls that it has recorded and the titles. Then I ask it, can you give me the most common patterns that people are asking? Can you give me what are the most common questions? Can you tell me where people are saying that they are finding us from? Actually, I want to come up with content and copy ideas. Can you give me the pain points? Can you give me the exact quotes that they are using to refer to this particular problem? When they are looking for power metrics and when they want to ask about our service, what are the exact pains and words that they are using to describe the use case? All these customers say are for me an input to create content. This is actually true. The last time I had this analysis with the Granola transcripts, I noticed that many people still don't understand our pricing model, which is based on data source accounts. So I need to change the wording of this concept. I noticed that people want to blend their data on Data Studio, or they don't understand how to use our cloud connection. So I need to plan a tutorial on how to connect methods with Claude and explain some use cases. Actually, this course is coming because from one of these calls and many of these calls, I noticed the pattern that people are very interested on Claude. So of course, I need to create a course of Claude for marketing. So if you ask me, best ideas don't come from an epiphany of your creativity. They come from your customers, and you can automate that as well with Cloud Code. Let's talk about content writing, because content writing seems to be the easiest use case to solve with AI. But I will differ, because when everyone has access to the same tools, being different and standing out becomes way more difficult. The first step for writing content is not writing, is research. So how do you do research? I think that the process is very unique for every individual depending on your rigorosity and your style for looking for information. But some of the ways I use to look for information is searching on the web and understanding what is currently ranking. What is ranking on ChatGPT, what is ranking on Google, what is ranking on Perplexity, what is ranking on Bing. So the first thing I do is I use APIs that perform web search. Actually, Cloud Code already performs a very good web search, but I will encourage you to use different sources so your web search is not biased and it is not the same as your competitors. So if you diversify the web search by connecting the API of Perplexity so it can perform a better web search with its own sources, or if you can connect the Google API for do a web search, I think that these are very good ideas. All these APIs that I am mentioning you are already included in the Porter Metrics MCP. So what you can do with them, you can ask, hey, I want you to retrieve articles related to Cloud Code for marketing. This helps you understand what is currently ranking, what is currently showing up on Google, what is currently showing up on YouTube, what is currently showing up on ChatGPT. And for me, this content is the baseline for what I will create, because my content must be at least as good what is already ranking. So the first use case for content creation is SERP analysis. SERP is search engine ranking and position analysis. I want to understand what is currently ranking, and this is my baseline for me to start writing content and to create my outlines. Now, when it comes to writing itself, my recommendation, because even though I use a lot of AI, I find myself fixing all over what AI is saying, and I will prefer to do some things manually. So the first thing I will encourage you to do manually is creating a very good outline. And an outline is the structure of what the text will have. So the headings, what is the H2, what is the H3, what are the exact ideas that you would like to elaborate. And among of many things, I think this is the kind of thing that you can do manually, that you can supervise, and that actually you will be faster than doing it yourself. Then, based on this structure, on this outline, I think that you can use AI to actually write and to actually do research for mapping all the outline and writing everything that you have done in this outline. So after the writing with Cloud Code, and also another way I used to write is I don't only type, as I told you before, I prefer to dictate. As you can see, I speak faster than I can dictate. So outlines plus dictation, I think that they are a very good way to do. Third, I recommend you to create skills. I will expand the idea of skills later, but only consider this. A skill is a document with instructions. And I recommend you to create these documents with instructions to save, store, and reutilize your style for writing. For instance, I hate long texts. I hate meaningless adjectives. I hate obviously AI generated content. So I have a content styling skill that makes sure that I don't use certain words and certain paragraphs because they look very much AI generated. So the more styling guides and the more context and the more skills that you create, the more consistent will be the writing and the better quality of the AI will be. These kind of things are still time consuming, but I think it is a very good thing to consume your time on because this is the part where you need your criteria and your taste when it comes to write very good content. Now, if you want to search the internet, one thing is the SERP analysis, which is okay, I will browse the internet to understand what pages are ranking, and I found these 10 pages. Now you want to read the data in those pages. If I want to read the internet, that is called scraping or scrapping. You can use the scrapping that Claude offers, but I will encourage you to use other tools that are more specialized in scraping, like Firecrawl on Apify. In Parametrics MCP, you will find the Firecrawl API, so you don't need to pay for an additional subscription. And I love Firecrawl because Firecrawl is very good for scraping all the content, all the styling, and being deeper and better quality in the content it retrieves. So once I do the SERP analysis to retrieve what is currently ranking, I also read and extract all the information of the pages that are ranking. With those, I can find patterns of the things that they are mentioning. And as I said, I don't use this context to copy them. I use this context as the baseline. My content must be at least as good as the current content that is ranking. Now it is up to me, up to my skills and creativity, that I can do something that is objectively better than what is already on the internet. And finally, once you go through the steps of researching and writing your content outlines, actually, I think I will make videos exclusively on content writing because I think there is a lot to be said here, especially because this is one of the things I do the most. After this, we'll talk about design. As I said before, you should create a design system. What is a design system? A design system is a set of instructions with the styling, with the CSS, with the colors, with the fonts, with the typographies, with as much instructions or as many instructions as you can give to an AI so it is consistent with the design that you want. A design system generally was built for humans. So it was a Figma file where a person, a human, could read and see the exact images and visuals and colors they would like to have in their assets, like their creatives, like their website. But AI can see images, but it is better if you create a skill or a document with the exact instructions, with the exact tokens of design that it needs to use in the design and implementation of the assets. In this case, I'm talking about landing pages or blog posts. So I really recommend you to do a very good design system for agents, which is instructions, and for people, which is the actual visuals of this design system. Once you have the design system and you design your landing page, which I think this is a very creative process of iteration, actually also I will encourage you to use Lovable or Replit or V0 because I think they are better at design. I think that they are very well trained for design. You can create your first mockups, and with their mockup, then you can use this code to use it then on Claude Code. Claude Code can design, but I think that these tools are doing a better job at designing, so you can use them combined for that. Once you design your landing page in HTML, it is locally stored on your computer, but we want to publish it on our website. And publishing on our website is as simple as connecting the WordPress or Webflow or whatever CMS that you are using, MCP. In my case, I use the WordPress MCP. It is free, it is super good. So I say, hey, publish this page or this post on my WordPress. This is the MCP and this is my API key, so you can publish. And actually, Cloud Code can publish your pages and your posts directly in your website. This is one of the best things about Cloud Code that, for instance, Lovable doesn't do yet. In Lovable, I can build websites in Lovable that are hosted in Lovable, but potentially your marketing team already runs on WordPress, already runs on Webflow, already runs on nothing else. I don't think that there is any other CMS that is popular nowadays for that. But just connecting to your CMS, publishing this content, I think it is a very good thing. In the process, you will find caveats that the design that you are seeing in the local version is not the same as in the published version, but it is the kind of things that you need to iterate until you find the consistency. And in another video, I will show you my process to make everything consistent, because it is challenging, but it is totally doable. And this whole process and this whole part of the video of research, writing, designing, and publishing is another use case for AI and for Claude Code, which is blog content creation or landing page design with Claude Code. Let's go to the other use cases, which are more related to our actual channels: ads, SEO, managing our CRM and email marketing, and finally, how to scale our marketing. And the example will be programmatic SEO. So let's dive in the other use cases. Let's talk about image generation. So far, Claude Code or Cloud don't have specific or proprietary models for image generation. However, we can connect APIs through APIs or MCPs. Today's best models are Google Nano and Nano, but recently OpenAI released GPT 5.5, or the newest model, and I must say it is almost perfect. One of the issues that AI has had with code, remember that it started with the fingers, that the hands look terrible. Well, that issue is fixed. The next problem was with text. The text was fully random. I think this model today can create perfect or almost perfect text. I will say that creatives statics generation is already done because this model is very good. As I said before, simply connect these APIs from Claude, from OpenAI, or you can use the Power Metrics MCP, which is a universal MCP for marketing that already aggregates all these models in one subscription. Promotion here. And you can use through Power Metrics, you can generate your images without paying multiple subscriptions, and you can access to this model as well. Also, there are other tools more specific for video or image generation. You can try tools like Higgsfield or Krea for this kind of use cases. But so far, my main recommendations for image generation will be Google Nano Banana and GPT 5.5 by OpenAI. Why I recommend you third parties? Because for some reason, maybe for proprietary models, maybe because they are using open source models, or maybe because they are losing money funding this, generating images through these tools like Higgsfield is cheaper or more affordable than doing it directly through the APIs. Let's talk about another popular use case of generative AI, which is content generation. In this case, video generation. If you have watched the whole tutorial, you have noticed that most of my video contains motion graphics like this one or this one. And the reason why I can build them, and this is the first time I do it ever, is because I use tools like Remotion or HyperFrames. So these tools can be installed in your computer and they can be accessed through Claude Code. So you can build prompts that create these motion graphics and they will return an MP4 video with the things that you want. However, I will give you some caveats and recommendations to use them correctly. First, have your house clean. And what I mean with this is prepare very well your script first, your timing, your assets, your images, your styling, your design. You need all this context so the AI can be fed with this context and it can be consistent across your video generation. Why it is that? Because you can create a video clip, but if you want to create multiple video clips with the same consistency, with the same quality, with the correct images, well, you gotta give the correct instructions. So as I said before, you can use GitHub or you can create folders in your computer to organize your information, your design, your scripts, your words, your assets, your logos, your images. If you have everything organized, creating motion graphics will be way more simple. Actually, I will tell you my workflow. I don't have any idea on the animations of this video. First, I speak. First, I record myself. And only after I record myself, I use the transcript of my voice and the timing, and I use this transcript to feed the animations that will show up here or here. I really don't know where they will show up. Actually, I don't have any idea of what I will show here. Maybe it is Barack Obama. I don't know what I will show, but all these edits are after I speak because my transcript is a great input and a great context for building these animations. Another great recommendation is that if you want to be very consistent with the design, I recommend you to ask Claude Code to first create images as examples or HTML images. So before the animation, the first thing that you need to do is, okay, I want you to first create an image of how the slide will look like or how the animation will look like. And for Cloud Code, generating an image is very easy. So you can quickly interact and see and monitor the quality of the potential output. Once you create images, then you can ask it for a sequence of images or a slide deck. So this creates a plan for the AI to create the actual motion graphics exactly how you need it. As you can see, I am using actual logos of companies or I am using particular designs and effects. Well, prior to generating these motion graphics, I need to prepare the logos, I need to prepare the transitions, I need to prepare the transcript. So as I said in the beginning, have your house clean and ready before generating the motion graphics. For the pricing, so far these tools I am using them for free and they work well, but I guess they should cost between $100 to $200 per month. Now, if you want to generate actual videos, then you will use models like Google VO3. Today, so far, it is the best model for video generation. And as I said before, of having your house clean, creating HTML images of examples before reproducing and generating the animation or the video, this recommendation is more important with VO3. Every video clip can be up to 7 seconds, and every video clip is 50 cents. So for creating video, I started talking about motion graphics. Now I will talk about actual video generation. The best model for video generation today is Google's VO3. The same recommendations I gave you of having the instructions, having the script, having an HTML image and example, they are more important here because the cost of running these video models is way different. It is more expensive. Running a video clip of up to 7 seconds is 50 cents. So the 7 seconds is a hard limit of this model. I guess that it will improve over time, but today, for 2026, April, May, June, this is 7 seconds limit. Now 50 cents per video is not that much, but it is very likely that you will fail. It is very likely that you need to repeat over and over. Actually, the video I will show you that I created that is about a minute and a half, it cost me $50 to build. Not because the video is long, but because I created many iterations until I got the result I wanted. So how I built this video that you are watching? First, I created the HTML images of how I wanted the scenes to look. Then I uploaded the actual screenshots and the actual logos of the tools I wanted. And then I described exactly the style I wanted in general. So my recommendation was, if you have ever watched this YouTube channel, I totally recommend it. One of my favorite YouTube channels is called Courgette in a nutshell. Is beautiful because of the illustrations. The illustrations are magic. So I told Cloud Code, hey, Cloud Code, I want you to create videos with the styles of Courgette in a nutshell. This is the script, these are the scenes, these are the video clips I want you to build, and these are the images. With that, I started building this video that you can see. Now, with Cloud Code, I can ask it to stick the 7-second videos in a longer video. And this is what I got. But I didn't end with that. Once I had the full video with everything edited, I wanted to add subtitles. I wanted to add a voiceover with a clone. So what did I do? I downloaded this video and I uploaded it in vid.io. In vid.io, it generated the transcript of the video, it generated the subtitles, and it generated a clone of my voice. I really recommend vid.io as well, and I think it is very affordable. If I am not wrong, it is about $30 or $40 per month or $300 per year. And with this, I was able to create this short animation that I also encourage you to do. But remember the caveats. Have your house clean, have all the logos, informations, assets, scripts before generating this video because it might be time consuming and it can become expensive. But otherwise, I think AI video is ready for production. So much to be said about SEO or GEO that I will make another video just dedicated to this. But today I want just to explore the use cases I am automating with Cloud Code today. I am not explaining exactly showing my screen because the logic is the same. It is simply chatting with your data and connecting the MCPs and skills to perform these tasks. But one of my favorite SEO tasks, believe it or not, is not creating content, but removing content. Because now we have the capacity of creating thousands of pages, there is something called crawling budget. And let's say that Google will say, okay, no, I don't want to crawl and index your 10,000 pages. I will only take the best 5,000 pages. And I see that you are publishing 100 pages every week. I won't index them in about a month. So if I want Google to index faster my website and to index faster my changes, the smaller the website with the better content, the better. So I encourage you to do this. You can create an interface, and actually, this interface we will share it with you, where you can monitor every landing page performance from GA4 and from Google Search Console, so I can see how many clicks I am getting from Google Search Console and how many sessions I am getting from GA4. Remember, you can get this data blended with the Porter Metrics MCP, and we can audit, okay, what pages are not active, what pages are not driving any traffic. And I can do two things. Okay, this keyword is relevant, so I need to optimize this content. Or maybe, hey, this content is not relevant, is not driving any traffic. I would prefer to start from scratch, so I want to eliminate all this content. And as you can create content and ask WordPress to publish content, you can ask WordPress to trash this content and to remove it. So cleaning up your content is a great way to do SEO. But I will say the most time intensive part of SEO besides content writing is research. And when it comes to SEO, is intent research, keyword research, competitor research. So tracking what your competitors are doing, what your competitors are ranking for, what other topics they are ranking for, I think it is crucial. For this, there are many tools. My favorite ones are Ahrefs. With Ahrefs MCP, I can get what are the top pages that are driving traffic to my competitors. I can get for a particular keyword what are the pages and websites that are ranking first for this. If I want to understand, for instance, in Google, if Google is featuring images or videos or facts or URLs, Ahrefs can give me this information because based on what Google is showing, is exactly the kind of content I will create. I will say, hey, if Google is featuring, for instance, for my article on how to connect Cloud Code to Meta Ads, it is featuring videos, it is featuring articles, it is featuring landing pages, then I will create a landing page of Meta Ads connector for Cloud Code. I will create an article on how to connect Meta Ads to Cloud Code, and I will create a tutorial on Meta Ads MCP and how to connect Meta Ads to Cloud. So I cover all these intents to make sure that I rank first for this kind of intents. This kind of research is the thing that helps you prioritize. In a world where creation is endless, is infinite, I think it is very important to prioritize what actually you will do. And planning best based on the SERP analysis and based on what your competitors are doing, I think is crucial. Another use case of competitor research, and I love it, is asking Cloud Code to go to your competitor's sitemaps. Let me explain this. And also in other videos, I will go in more details about this. All websites have something called robots.txt. Robots.txt is a page that indicates Google what they can crawl and index and what they should ignore. And in this robots.txt, there is a page that is called the sitemap. The sitemap is a list with all the pages of your website that makes easier for Google to understand the inventory of your whole website content. Once they can read through this inventory and they can read to the date of modification, I can use this data to understand what are the latest changes on the content that my competitor is doing. So if I ask, for instance, hey, I want you to visit my competitor website, I want you to go to their sitemap, and I want you to tell me what are the things that they have changed during this month, during this day, during this week, I can actually tell how much they are producing. For instance, if I notice, hey, my competitors are publishing 50 pages per week and I am only publishing 10, I need to see what problems I have in my systems because I can produce as much content as my competitors. Also, I want to see what content they are creating. I see that they are launching campaigns related to Google Ads. Well, I need to catch up. I also need to create this content to defend this position in Google or ChatGPT. So this kind of competitor monitoring is crucial. But I can go one step above. What about just monitoring the sitemap changes and seeing the content changes that they have? I can also crawl the web pages and I can see exactly what content they have in these pages. So I can see, okay, the content is updated, the content is created, this content is AI generated, the content is very thin. So if I use scraping with Firecrawl that you can access through the Portal Metrics MCP, that you can monitor. But we have other tools to make this research even better. What about if I tell you that you can access the historic versions of all these web pages and these websites? And this is not only for the changes of a web page. For instance, if you want to monitor the pricing changes of the pricing page of your competitor, or if you want to monitor the positioning and messaging changes in their homepage, you can use the same workflow. The same workflow is see the sitemap, see if they are doing changes based on the date and the timestamp of the changes, scrape the website and the web page to see exactly what is the content, and also ask for the past version of this content. This is a tool that you can access directly through a Portal Metrics MCP that is called Wayback Machine API. And this API will let you have access to the past versions of this page. Then you can ask AI, hey, can you compare the current version of this pricing page or this homepage versus the past month? And with this, you can get insights of the strategic changes on the narrative and the positioning based on the homepage changes, the pricing changes based on the changes on the pricing page, and the content changes based on the updates that your competitors are doing. And this is a 360 way to monitor what your competitors are doing on the internet. And I think this resource is also invaluable to help you prioritize also your tasks, not to copy, but to defend your positions in case that you know that your competitor is being aggressively or is fighting aggressively for a particular intent in SEO. Let's talk about managing our advertising through Claude Code. And as I have said many times, you need to connect the MCPs. You need to connect the MCP of Google Ads, the MCP of Meta Ads, the MCP of Reddit, TikTok, LinkedIn, or whatever ads tool that you are managing or that you are using for managing your ads. My first recommendation is that we have several videos on connecting Google Ads or Meta Ads or all these tools to Claude Code. And the second recommendation is making sure that the MCP that you are using can read and write your data. Reading your data is it can get your performance data, it can read your campaigns, it can read your creatives and assets. Writing your data is that it can actually automate tasks. It can create and publish creatives, it can create and publish campaigns, and so on. So make sure that the MCP that you're using has permission for reading and also for writing your data. And guess what? The Porter Metrics MCP lets you read and write your data from Meta Ads, from Google Ads, and all these tools. Now, if you can do that, the use cases that you can automate with Claude Code are mostly everything. I will say that 90% of ad management is already automatable with AI. And the things that cannot be automated are things that anyway happen outside these platforms, like creating the creatives, like thinking of the strategy. But otherwise, all the tasks related to managing keywords, managing your budget, managing your campaigns, your objectives, this is something that can be fully automated with a chat or with an interface that you can control from the chat of Claude Code. So, to give some examples of ad management with Claude Code, as I have explained before, I can retrieve and pull the data from these connectors to create dashboards for my clients or for myself where I can monitor and analyze the performance instead of going to all these tools. I can actually rewrite and edit and clean the campaign's naming. Remember that there is a boring task called naming conventions. So making sure that all my campaigns are named correctly, or my ad sets are named correctly, or my keywords are correct. Well, from Cloud Code, I can read these campaigns and I can ask the AI to clean and to organize my naming conventions. Simply upload your Google Sheet with the rules that you are using, and it can automatically name correctly all your campaigns and all your keywords and all your creative names and your ad names. This also happens with the URLs. If you want to make sure that the URLs and the UTM parameters that you are using are correct, you simply can upload a Google Sheet with instructions and it can automatically manage that for you. This technical part that is very boring, I think it is 100% done with AI already. So I don't think that you will find a larger advantage from this. Actually, if you are using these tools, you can notice that most of Meta ads is already automated and part of the effort happens outside the platform, creating, having creatives, having influencers, and so on, and finding very good angles and hooks for your ideas. With Google Ads, it's about keywords refinement. So Google is a great company for AI. They are the top leaders for AI. But for matching keywords and defining keywords for Google Ads, they are the worst company in the world. So the good thing about AI is that the AI is unbiased. Of course, Google has maybe an incentive to not let you manipulate as well the keywords that you are using in the platform. AI is very good because AI can read the context of your call transcripts, it can read the context of your business, and it can help you map better and manage better your keywords. Actually, you can create a routine and you can ask Claude Code, hey, Claude Code, I want you to every week or every day check my keywords performance. And based on the documentation of my business, check what keywords are not semantically related to my business and that we need to exclude or make negative. So, one of the most obvious use cases of AI is negative keyword management. Another use case of AI, as I said, managing the naming conventions of your ads. So this is the second use case. The third use case is alerts and notifications. If your CPI is going above your objectives, if your ad spend is going above your objectives because you are managing multiple accounts, well, we can connect Slack, we can connect Gmail, and we can create routines that run every 5 minutes to check if your data and your KPIs are on point. There are many more use cases, and very likely after this video, I will be making videos just for Meta Ads, just for Google Ads, but I am giving you some ideas of the things that you can do today by connecting the Power Metrics MCP with Cloud Code to manage your advertising. An invitation here is that as now managing ads becomes easier, I encourage you to think more aggressively. I mean, if you have multiple products and you have multiple channels, you run ads on Meta, on TikTok, on Google, I think that today most marketing teams have someone to manage Google, someone to manage Meta, someone to manage TikTok. I think it is very likely that in the coming future, one single person can manage the three channels at the scale with multiple products. Because now managing multiple products and campaigns is becoming way easier because of this. And the challenge is more logistical in terms of the creatives, the landing pages, and the assets that go behind the ads itself. Talk about managing CRMs. So far, there are people fully dedicated to managing CRMs because CRMs are complicated. Think of Salesforce, think of HubSpot, think of hundreds of CRMs that are out there. But the CRM market is changing a lot because we used to think that all the businesses need a CRM, which is an interface with tables that has contacts, that has emails, that has lists, that has pipelines, that has deals, that has email campaigns, that has website data. So these systems become very complex, so much that there are people whose full-time job is managing the CRMs. Actually, the CRMs have partners. Of partners are agencies that are dedicated to implement these tools in companies. There are companies and agencies fully dedicated to implement HubSpot CRM, for instance, or Salesforce CRM. And if you think of these companies, HubSpot is not only a CRM, they have a CRM, they have a marketing automation tool, they have a customer service tool. So they start becoming very complex. But they are complex because they are built on a user interface that needs to stitch multiple use cases and tables. But now, maybe it is not needed. Now it is this concept of headless. Headless has been for a while, but Salesforce recently said, hey, we just launched the headless CRM. And headless means, okay, now you can have all the power of a CRM, but you can simply chat with your data. You don't need a UI, you don't need an interface. And I think this is the right move. And this is exactly what we have been doing for a while by simply connecting our CRM through Cloud Code. In my case, I use ActiveCampaign, and the API of ActiveCampaign let me retrieve and manage and edit and delete my contacts, and my lists, my tags, my email campaigns. So make sure that the CRM that you're using has an API, and this API has endpoints to all the things that you want to do. Make sure that you can read and edit your contacts. You can read and edit your emails. You can read and edit your tags or your lists. If you have all this power, well, you can actually fully manage your CRM from chat. Things that I do with ActiveCampaign. We manage more than 150K contacts at Power Metrics, but many of these emails never reply. And I don't want to pay more for contacts who are not opening my emails. Today, I pay like $1,000 per month for our CRM. So something that we do frequently is when we reach the limit of contacts, um, I create a cleanup. So I ask Claude Code, hey, Claude Code, can we come up with a criteria of inactive contacts? We create a backup of these contacts in my computer, but I want you to clean all these contacts because I don't want to hit the limits. So one thing I do with the CRM that used to take hours is contact management and cleaning these contacts. A second use case is contact enrichment. What is contact enrichment? Is taking your emails of your clients and adding more properties, adding more information about them. So an example is this one. I know that I have many business emails and other emails are Gmail. I will ask the AI to classify my emails by Gmail, which are personal emails, and by business emails. Okay, now I have a classification. My business emails are more qualified or more relevant for my business. Now I can ask the AI through different MCPs or APIs or with Firecrawl and scraping, hey, can you visit these websites to understand the category and the industry of these businesses so I can build segments of marketing agencies? I want to build a segment of universities. I want to build a segment of these kind of companies because you are visiting the website and you are understanding the concept, the context of this business. Also, I want you to look at the language where this website is written by default, because I know if I know that some of these websites are in Spanish, then my emails can be in Spanish and I can create a tag for these contacts so I can only send them emails in Spanish and maybe I can improve my open rates. For instance, managing emails deliverability is challenging. So building multiple lists so you can create sequences of different emails at different times to send these emails generally is challenging. But now with AI, it has become super simple to create and execute 4 marketing campaigns to different lists. Howsoever, I am just giving you examples and not showing the actual work because it is as simple as doing it yourself and trying yourself connecting these MCPs directly. And you will be able to see what we are doing. Actually, during this video, maybe I will show you screenshots of actual campaigns that we have launched and actual lists that we are running with ActiveCampaign. So it can be ActiveCampaign, it can be any CRM, but you can fully manage your CRM already from Claude Code. Now you understand some of the most popular use cases of Claude Code for marketing, but if you watch the full video, you can tell that you can automate mostly every use case of part of your work. And still, there is a lot of room for marketers, for humans, to do our work in monitoring the outputs, in the quality, in the taste. But I will also talk about that in other videos. Now I will explain some concepts that I think that are important for you to master Claude Code and to master the technical parts, and you will notice that they are super simple to understand. The first concept is prompt. It's a simple instruction with a message. You are familiar with this because when ChatGPT launched, every message that we sent to it, it was a prompt or an instruction. After a prompt, now we have evolved to the concept of a skill. A skill is another prompt. But instead of simply being a message that I send to the chats, it is a full document with instructions and with actual code. So when the AI creates a page, it never creates the same page. It always creates a probabilistic version that is always different, but with a skill. If I give instructions with the actual code it must use and perform, then it becomes more deterministic. It becomes more consistent when executing tasks. So skills is simply a document. The only difference between a skill and a Google Doc is that it is not a Google Doc. It is a document that is in a different format that is called Markdown or .md. When you see a document that says skill.md, you know, okay, this is a document for a skill that an AI agent will read. What makes it an skill? When you say to Claude Code, hey, can you save this skill in your skill.md file, I will ask it because it will be easier for Claude Code to retrieve this skill in the future. For instance, my design system, my APIs, my MCPs, the authentications, all this data that I want to persist in future sessions, I save them as skills in skills.md in Claude Code. And with skills.md, it is simply a folder. So just chatting with Claude Code and asking to organize your data there, it is as simple as that to manage it. So that is a skill. Now we talked about integrations. We have talked about MCPs, but before the MCPs, we have APIs. What is an API? Is the application programming interface. That is the acronym, but API is simply the way I can connect to a tool. Hey, I want to connect to HubSpot, the API of HubSpot. I want to connect to Meta, the API of Meta. What is the difference between MCP and API? API is for humans, for developers to interact with these programs. MCPs are the APIs with additional instructions so the AI agents understand what they need to interact with these APIs. Actually, you can think that an AI can read the documentation like a human and interact with the API. So maybe the need of MCPs is not actually real. But the instructions, the way a computer reads an instruction and the way a person does are different. So that's why we have MCPs with the documentation for agents and the APIs with the documentation for humans. Now, as we understand the difference between MCPs and APIs, and these are crucial for you for automating your work because you need integrations, let's talk about costs. Now you wonder and you are worried because you have heard that a developer spent $20,000 in a week just using Claude Code. People say, hey, Claude Code is becoming very expensive. First, I think some people are a little bit cheap when they say, I don't want to pay more than $20. I think Cloud Code is worth thousands of dollars per month because of the value that I can get from it. But I will think that most people can use the $100 and $200 subscription. But if you still want to save money and you want to manage your cost, I will give you two ideas, and I will have other videos related to cost optimization. First, that you can delegate. The more you delegate tasks, not to Cloud Code, but to APIs, the better, because it will consume less tokens or less, it will have less usage. For instance, I can ask Cloud to do a scraping, but if I say, hey, you don't do the scraping, simply do the API call to Firecrawl, and you outsource that task to a different API, things become much cheaper. For instance, if you don't need a lot of reasoning and you don't need the top models, you can do the changes in your Cloud Code environment to not use the latest Opus model. You can ask it to use Sonnet or Haiku. Haiku, for instance, is like 5 times cheaper and it can perform many tasks. Most of your tasks don't require the higher quality of reasoning because they are simple standard tasks. So looking at the model that you are using is also important, because the better the reasoning, also the more expensive is to run this model. Or simply you can delegate to models that are outside Claude. You can use open source or Chinese models like Kimi or like Qwen, that you can simply connect through an API and you can delegate tasks to these models. For instance, sometimes for our programmatic SEO plays, when I know that I don't need that much reasoning, I delegate tasks at the scales to these models, and of course the cost drop by more than 10x, because these models are like 10x cheaper than Gemini or Anthropic models. And finally, there are tools like Compressor that help you compress the context. This is important. What is the cost of AI, or how they charge you? They charge you for the amount of information expressed in tokens. That is another conversation. But the amount of information that the AI reads, writes, and generates. So it charges you for every time the AI generates content, but also it charges you for every time the AI reads your content. Well, most of the tokens that you are spending in your Cloud Code billing is reading data. So the shorter and more organized information you have, and the more specific you are with your instructions, the less information it will take in the context, the better quality, the higher speed, and the better the cost you will manage. I won't continue with cost optimization because I could spend another hour talking about this, but I wanted to give you clarity on these technical concepts so you can run on Cloud Code. I wanted to give you some closing ideas for this Cloud Code course for marketers. First, if you read on LinkedIn like, hey, I replaced my entire SEO team, I replaced my entire marketing agency with this skill and this prompt, you can tell by now that it is bullshit, because you really need to think through. You really need to know your stuff for actually automating things. One thing is automating creation, and one thing is getting the attention and influencing. And the job of marketing is influence, it is not creation. The second thing is that your mind shifts from buying software, and you start buying MCPs, and you start buying things that help you build your infrastructure so you can build your systems. When I talk about thinking like an engineer, is that you stop thinking just on use cases and you start thinking about the systems that will enable to manage those use cases at a scale. And also, even though I tell you that now doing your work and doing marketing becomes easier, I will say the opposite. Marketing is way harder, because creation capacity is infinite, but the attention is the same, and we are fighting for the same attention. But now we are creating more and more content, so there is more and more noise. The marketing job has become way harder, while the job of creating, the job of building, becomes way easier. So I think our job is safe because our work is not creating, our work is fighting for this audience influence. And finally, now your team is not just people. Your team is people and agents, and your customers or your audience is not only people. You are only as well serving content for people and for agents. And now, with all of this, with Claude Code, with Codex, with Lovable, and now with skills, with MCPs, with integrations, with APIs, with tokens, with prompts, understanding how to automate your SEO, how to automate your ads, how to automate your research, how to automate your content creation, how to automate your videos, with everything, now you understand Cloud Code for marketing. Hopefully, you have liked this tutorial, and thank you for watching.